Welcome back, legends. I hope you're all amazing. We've got the Strymon BRIG on the bench today. A big thank you to David at Amber Music Technology for hooking me up with one of these to make a demo video with. It has just launched and it's using their new small form factor, very similar to the Cloudburst, which I did a video with recently. So essentially, the front panel has 5 controls, your standard delay controls for time, repeats, and mix. And there's also some extra controls like a filter control and a mod control on there. Most importantly, there is a 3-way toggle switch on here to choose between different bucket brigade style devices in here. So this does more than just kind of imitate, I guess, the type of chips that those old analog delays were using. Strymon, as they tend to do, have gone really deep with this and replicated things like the compander and the emphasis and de-emphasis circuitry surrounding those, which gives those old analog delays so much of their character. Before we dive into the specifics of this, I'm just going to use this in a little Pink Floyd style jam with some distorted lead guitar because that's where I live 95% of the time. Then we will hear some cleaner tones with this. I'll go mode by mode and explore most of what you can do with this. I'm not going to dive too deep into the MIDI implementation or things like that. I should mention as well, on the back, you've got similar controls to the Cloudburst, where you've got stereo TRS input and output jacks with a little 3-way toggle to set the input and output modes. And then you've got an expression or TRS MIDI jack on there. You can also save up to 300 presets. It's using the new ARM platform and it's got their new JFET based input circuitry. Like anything Strymon, it is going to preserve the integrity of your dry signal very nicely. So how about that jam? Started, I've got a PRS DGT plugged straight into the mono input of the BRIG. I'm using a TRS to dual TS cable out of the BRIG in stereo into a pair of amps in my Axe-Fx 3. This is the starting. There's a little bit of grit on there and it's nice and warm sounding, which I think is going to complement what this pedal does really nicely. There's 5 main controls on here. You've got time, level, the number of repeats, a filter control on here, and a modulation control on here. I really wanted to do this demo in stereo so that you can hear the power of the modulation. There's also a 3-way switch on here. So there is the 3205 mode, which we'll start with. This is going to be, I guess, the most old school lo-fi crusty sort of sound out of this. Essentially, it reminds me of the old Boss DM2, but it does a lot more than the old DM2 or an equivalent pedal would do. So let's kick it in. I've got the filter all the way to the kind of clockwise direction on here. Then I've got the modulation all the way down. Let's just have a listen to what happens as we change the time and the number of repeats, because that will change the character of the echoes on there. Let's go. Quite a nice little slap back there. You can hear as the delay times get shorter, like a real BBD style delay, the repeats get a bit brighter. With the filter control on here, essentially as I turn this counterclockwise, the repeats are going to get a little bit darker. On the next mode we look at, it will introduce some noise as well. So I think the longest delay time on this mode is about 300 milliseconds. So let me do that kind of rhythmic echo style effect. There is tap tempo with different subdivisions as well, which we'll hear in a little bit. So let's have a listen to what the filter does with the delay time at max on the 3205 mode. Most importantly, it does the old school analog delay self-oscillation that you can make sound totally crazy on there. So you could hear in there the effect of the filter. It kind of not only makes things just brighter or darker, it changes up the texture and the character in there. That is one lovely thing about real analog delays, is it's not just like a simple issue of band passing stuff. You can hit the compander differently. You can hit the pre and de-emphasis filters in different ways. And of course, the Pete Selly deep dive video on this goes into this stuff a lot more. I'm going to move on because I want to add some modulation in here. And in stereo, the way this is voiced, it gives you that extra wide mod effect on there. So I'll let you hear it with the delay time at the maximum. The repeats up quite a bit, the filter around 1 o'clock on there. And one thing I like about this is that because of the nature of the actual delay tone, you can get beyond noon on the mix control and actually have it quite usable when you're using it in the setup. So let's just hear a simple chord with no modulation, and then I'll bring some in. And then of course, we have to try and make a chorus out of this. Again, I love that you can crank up the repeats right to that precipice of self-oscillation, and the modulation will make everything sound super wide. You can do beautiful sound-on-sound stuff there. The volume swells. It just sounds gorgeous, and it's simple to use as well. Next, let's take the delay time all the way down on the brig, and then I'll leave the modulation where it is, no repeats. The filter is wide open at the moment. This should give us a pretty sweet sounding chorus sound. Let's hear that with some absolute filth now in stereo. If you've seen my video with the Strymon Dig, you know that I love the chorus effect that you can build in that. I may like this even more because that just elevates that already gloriously filthy sound. With the delay time on there just above the minimum, I think I actually kind of liked it because it gives you a little more of that kind of faux doubling effect on there, and with the mod quite low, you get that extra bit of stereo width without it being too noticeable. I need to save that as a preset in there because I love the way that sounds. Let's go over to the next mode on here. So this is the 3005 mode. You've got a much longer delay time available in here. And the modulation characteristics are different as well as the filter characteristics. The first thing that I saw from watching Pete's video is that as you take this filter sort of counterclockwise on this mode, you will get some noise introduced. So I'll let you hear that. Let's go back to the clean sound. Before we move on to the multi-mode, I want to show you how to set up tap tempo. Very, very straightforward. You just press and hold this foot switch till you see the LED change color. Then the time control is going to give you different rhythmic subdivisions. So I'll let you hear some of the different subdivisions in there. I think a lot of people, when this launched, were wondering whether you could do dotted eighth note delays in here. You can do that and much more. So if I tap the tempo in here, let's have a listen to the first subdivision. So basically, if you want your dotted eighth notes, put that at around 1 o'clock. We get this. Then finally, the multi-mode. One of my favorite sounds that you could get out of the DIG was setting it up to essentially create a big ambient wash by using the golden ratio between the delays and the series ping pong mode. This sounds like it's doing a very similar thing just with this D bucket algorithm and character. So I'll set the time up a little lower on this. You can see where everything is. There's a bit of modulation on there. Let's just have a listen to what this does and we'll see where it takes me. You can use terms like warm or organic for that particular sound. To me, it sounds musical because it is acting to reinforce what you're playing. You get that positive feedback loop of hearing something that sounds so gorgeous and wanting to lean into that character on there. So it's amazing. I love the way that sounds on the multi-mode. As you heard in the intro jam, the multi-mode is what I've been enjoying for lead guitar the most. So I'll show you how I would set that up. At the moment, no modulation. The filter's wide open. The mix is at noon. I generally like a longer delay time with these things. I've got it placed post distortion this time. This would be my typical lead delay style setup. And I just like, again, that the delay is voiced so that it's not too strident or in your face. Let's hear it dry and then with the lead delay. 3005 mode is great for leads as well. Basically, just set the time right down the middle. You can bring the mix up to taste. I like my delays wet in case you haven't figured that out yet already. Then just a little bit of modulation on there to add some width. As I like to say, that sounds glorious on leads. I haven't been using any of the extended functions on this for all of the tones in this video. It's just those 5 knobs, the 3-way switch, and of course the on and off in stereo. There is some pretty comprehensive MIDI implementation. There's a USB-C port on the back for firmware updates, and what I imagine will let you connect this to Strymon's upcoming software editor, which I'm really excited about, because with that, I would happily put this into my big rack in place of one of my crusty old rack units, set it up with a few different presets, and control it from the software editor. I love the way those lead delays sound on there, and I particularly like the way you can set up the multi-mode for some ambient wash. The 3205 mode sounds like my Boss DM2, which I love. It doesn't have any of the excess noise as the old DM2. And then the 3005 mode in the middle, it's really, really interesting. The modulation on that one is so lush and can get so wide. So I might play you all out with that one with some mod on there. I'll go for, like, I guess a real 80s style clean tone, like I sometimes do all the time, and finish it up there. Let me know your thoughts on the Strymon BRIG in the comments section below. I'm so glad that they've made a delay in this new small form factor. And if you would like me to do a video on how to set up MIDI and some of the more advanced functions in there, you can either use MIDI or like a little extension switch, the Strymon multi-switch, or an expression pedal in there to, say, control the repeats on there or the overall level, which is really, really lovely. Let me know if you want to see a tutorial on that. I'll be happy to do it in the future. Again, big thank you to Amber Technology here in Australia for hooking me up with one of these to make this video. And I'll play you all out with some glorious cleans. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.